a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and ultimately, we always seem to fall down this route of becoming sort of selfish and, in essence, well, there's many problems. But sometimes, we see discussions come to the fray. And they're not discussions by people who claim to be socialist or claim to be anti capitalist, and people who claim to be conservative. Instead, they're just full on people who, will benefit from, you know, very, very right wing economic policies and people who won't. And that's the video we're going to watch today. It's a reaction video by Hasan to a Jubilee video from a while back, and it's poor versus rich. So let's go ahead and watch it.
That Jubilee vid is mildly infuriating and may produce a Jolcar moment. Oh no. This is gonna break you? Oh no.
As a real estate guy, I can make millions of dollars and use the exact same tax loopholes that a Donald Trump would use.
Donald Trump is a pretty low billionaire, though. Like, are you sure it's like saying, yeah, I can use the same tax loopholes as Ronnie Califray? Who are they? It's like, maybe don't pick like such a low billionaire. Like, I mean, like, well, I'm sure Donald Trump is a billionaire now. I mean, there was allegations that he lied about the amount of money he actually had. I mean, that his worth was actually less than $1 billion. But like, who knows? Anyway, point being, at the end of the day, that probably a billionaire now from all the fraud. But yeah, not a great argument to pick Donald Trump because it's like, there are many, 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 many higher tax laws which are basically arguing you can't use, that we're saying. But anyway, that's off topic. So
exactly. And pay effectively no tax. And does that make me a bad guy, or did I?
Yes, it does make you a bad guy. It does make it. I'm sorry. This is like YouTubers who form corporations to do tax avoidance. Yes, it makes you a bad person. Okay? Yes, it does make you a bad person. That's just a fact, okay? Sometimes, right, people just seem to misunderstand these things. Which is like, if you are a very, very rich person, doing tax evasion is not so much a way for you to keep some money so that you can live a slightly happier life like it is for some people. It's just straight up stealing for reasons. So you can buy a little bit more of that useless shite. It's a little bit more like that, It's not so you can live a more comfortable life and that's it. It's so you can live an extremely comfortable life. So no, feck you. If you want to do that level of tax avoidance, if you're a millionaire and you're doing tax avoidance, like a multi-millionaire doing tax avoidance, fuck you.
Did I just study?
Yes. It just makes you a bad guy, makes the system bad. It makes everything bad.
Correct.
Automatically, dude. It's like the moment that you're like, I love being a landlord. It's the greatest thing. I'm like,
I wonder though, is Hasan considered on his tax forms? Is he considered, someone who has their own business, or are they considered not? Because I wonder, it would be interesting to take a look at the tax information, because a lot of creators seem to do this very weird thing of, being like, yes, it makes you a bad person, but at the same time being like, yeah, no, they're still using tax loopholes. They are. And it's kind of depressing to me because, they're either stupid or just full on lying to their audience. Like, I don't use those tax loopholes. What about these ones? No comment. It's like, I'm sure, when you reach a certain level of wealth, your accountant will most likely come to you and say, actually, when you reach a small amount of wealth, your accountant will come to you and be like, well, you can actually make the living wage if you do these things. And, you listen to your accountant and you may not realize these ways are tax avoidance schemes. That's what they are. And they're not. It's not like, oh, you're like the billionaires, you're something that isn't being done by. No, it's being done by practically every single corporation. And you know why? It's because they hire accountants. It doesn't necessarily make you evil that you listened. It makes you evil that you didn't think about it, that you continue to do that. That's what makes you a bad person. Because I'm sure for a lot of these people, obviously not all of them, some of them were like going to the kind of listening, what nipples here? Do you know any nipples? Could you find some nipples? That sort of thing. But for a lot of the time, it's just your accountant, is able to save you a bit of money here, a bit of money there. They sometimes don't necessarily tell you that they save that money by, doing a bit of tax avoidance, which is what a lot of people do. Sometimes they get accountant advice and they do the work themselves. Other times they give a bit of money to an accountant and the accountant just solves it all for them. But all the time, you see this all the time in YouTubers, it's tax avoidance all the way. They get gifts from their fans that they don't register as actual income. They run all the income from their channels and ads and merch and all these sort of things through companies. And every single thing they buy is run through the companies, which is tax avoidance. That's what you're doing, okay? You had a nice little treat when filming your video. Oh, apparently that was for the company, was it? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. And that's tax avoidance. So yeah, most of the time, I don't think necessarily most people who would be watching this and who would be like, content creators. Most content creators are breaking tax. Well, not breaking any tax laws, but they're doing a bit of tax avoidance.
I'm like, nope, not a good person. Sorry. I tell this to my friends who want to become landlords. I'm like, don't do it. It's terrible.
Step forward if you agree.
That makes it sound as if you're saying it's such a hard job, like, with those landlords. I know landlords. Like, I don't like them, but I know them. And I know people who've had houses and haven't rented them out because they, because it was in economically troubling times. So we're like, oh no, it's not economically, viable for me to, like, come on, there's a housing crisis. Why wouldn't you rent it out? And then it's like, well, to meet the housing regulations, I'll need to invest money into the house to do it up to meet housing regulations. Like, oh, I'm sorry. So do you have that money or not? Because if you don't, okay, maybe fair. An argument could be made to sell it, but I don't necessarily think you should just sell a house just because you don't have the money to do it up, because arguments could be made, well, if you sell it to the wrong person, then that person is going to use exorbitant rental prices. So as long as you don't do the exact same thing that like a shady multi-corporation will do, or a not very nice landlord will do, then maybe don't sell it. But there's all sorts of issues here when it comes to morals of other people.
Being poor is a choice.
Anyone who thinks that is an idiot.
I do not want to be disingenuous.
No! Are you okay, dude? No.
If you think being poor is a choice, you are a stupid fool, okay? Because it is one thing to be a conservative. I understand if you're a rich person why you're conservative. Because yes, it benefits you. Low tax benefits you. Low regulation benefits you. You will not be exploited if you're part of the mega rich in a conservative society. Well, maybe actually, I should clarify. In certain conservative societies, in a true conservative society that isn't corrupt, that's just like, it's low tax, but for all rich people. Poor people, but like, it's like, it's for all the rich people. If you're poor, no, you're fucked. Like, if you're rich, you should be fine. There's not necessarily corruption involved that they'll crush on you specifically just to benefit the super mega rich. But if you think being poor is, well, no, then you're just being stupid. Like that's not, oh, it benefits me, so it's fine. Then you're just being an idiot. You're just wrong.
No. This video will cause me to get banned. Oh my god. Oh my god. I will blow up. I will explode. I will spontaneously combust. First question, being poor is a choice? What the kind of take is this, dude? Are you a teacher in Oklahoma that literally has to scrounge up as many little dollars as you can on the side to make sure that you buy your own school supplies because the state hasn't raised your income in like 2 generations, and you have to actually find yourself doing Uber rides at night in an effort to make sure that your kids aren't eating top ramen every night? Well, guess what? You're poor because it's your choice to be poor. Why don't you choose to be rich? Why don't you choose to just not be poor? What a
Yeah, you know, like, how about one day you just visualize a mountain of gold in like a vault, and just visualize you opening that vault, and the next day you'll be rich. That's what I did on the night of just on my 18th birthday, and then my papa gave me 5 billion quid. It's like, yeah, no, we, you know, like, obviously that's an exaggeration, but like, you know, it's in essence, that's my point. It's like, sure, that is generally an exaggeration, although sometimes, but you know, it's kind of, it's one thing if you're like a middle, sort of like relatively wealthy, you know, you own your own home, that type of thing, no mortgage to be paid, and you're, you know, in your like 60s, you're still working, but like you're not, you know, you're not retired, but you're kind of in that sort of age bracket. It's one thing then to be like, because then you can be like, oh, you know, but when you're a rich person, you should kind of know what got you that wealth.
stupid person you are, you poor bitch. Go on Indeed.com and push the Indeed slider to a fucking teaching profession that actually pays you a living wage. Let's not even consider the fucking reality that the budget shortfall is straight up baked into your existence, okay? That like childcare, car payments, and all this other shit makes living as a poor person incredibly fucking expensive.
Yeah.
But fuck that, dude. Hey, it's just a mindset, dog. Why don't you get the fucking out?
Yeah, like if you're rich, you can make investments with your net income. You know, like, you know, I know people who bought a house. Obviously, they're old now. In like the late 80s. That house is worth like 5 times the price now. 6 times the price now. And the thing is at the end of the day, looking at that, you think, okay, but like if you were able to make that investment, you know, if you had the wealth to do that, obviously you can't do that now increasingly because banks are less and less likely to give you a mortgage. So you need even more money, you need an even greater income to get a mortgage to begin with. But you know, if you were able to do that, compare that to someone who wasn't able to. You're now up like a plus, like even if you just about made those payments, you're not up, you know, 200, 300 grand, you know? But yet, the person who just about wasn't able to make it, you know, every single time they just about, they maybe they got a wage increase, but then the requirements of the mortgage increase and they weren't able to reach just about, they are now less than you. And that's sort of the point. Not being able to reach those levels means you can't save as much. You can't make an investment like that. You know? Like, hopefully, one day, I'll own my own home. Except guess what? It is very unlikely. Very unlikely. And that's sort of the point. Every single person in the world should be able to have their own home. You know? Every single person. But they can't. Thanks to the rich.
Alpha brain, rich person mindset. All of a sudden, you'll be rich, dude. Yeah, totally. Great fucking take. One of them is a poor person, too. Maybe that person is poor by design, okay? by choice because they were too fucking stupid and literally think.
You know, it's just like, oh, well, I mean, I guess the problem is like you can't even be like back in the day. You could be poor bad choice in the sense that you could be like choose not to earn money, choose to live off the land. Just like I have my own house, I built myself. I get my food from nature. I do all these things. I don't earn any money. But of course, the problem is now you have no land to build a house. It doesn't matter if you can build 50 houses. Where are you going to get the land? Where are you going to build those houses? Where are you going to get the materials? Oh, you're going to build out of wood? Oh, no, you don't own those trees, buddy. No. Hey, he owns the trees. You have to go pay him for the money. But you have no money, so you can't pay him to, even if you, with the skills you have, could live without any money. If let's say, every single person on this planet was dead, but that one person can harvest nature, all the materials necessary. They can build their home, with all of nature stuff. Only thing stopping a ton of people from being able to live on their own without any money coming in is the fact, at the end of the day, you don't own that land, buddy. You don't own those materials, buddy. Now, how do I own those materials? Because I bought them off a fellow who bought them, off a fellow who bought them, off the fellow who bought. Oh, and where did the original fellow get them? Oh, he took them. He said, these are mine now, by force. Oh, so they were stolen. Off of nature. Great. That apparently is what our society is built off of. Theft.
Being poor is a choice.
I feel like it's 2021 and there's a lot of free resources. I mean, Facebook has a lot of free courses.
Oh, dude,
Yeah, the last time I was, looking for that CEO position as, head of Apple, I emailed them my Facebook course. I didn't actually get an email back, at all. I wasn't necessarily rejected, but I didn't get an email back. But one day I'll be CEO of Apple and I'll be making millions. Is that a good thing? No, it isn't. Don't make millions. It's you're being a little greedy fecker. Who is, if you're earning millions a year, you are taking from others. That's just a fact. You're taking more than your fair share, so you take from others. So yeah, Facebook Marketplace, I don't think anyone's gonna really, they're not gonna accept that.
MLM. That's a MLM, Andy. Straight up. That's a fucking Avalon, Herbalife.
Oh, those ones.
Andy, right here. Straight the fuck up. No, I don't mean Marxist, Leninist, Maoist, by the way. But that 100% is a Herbalife lady.
There's also a mind.
In fairness, a lot of the the senior, and I'm gonna make this very clear, very senior people in pyramid schemes, or as they're known because they don't want to be called pyramid schemes because pyramid schemes are illegal. Multi-level marketing. They are pyramid schemes though. In essence, they are very wealthy at the top. At the bottom, they're in debt.
Mindset.
Most
Massive
people
debt.
in general don't choose to be poor, but since I've been here specifically in LA, a lot of people outside, they don't want to come into the shelter because they'd rather be in the tents.
I mean,
I wonder why that might be. Because human beings are evil, and you really do not know what another human being will do to you. Not only do you have human beings who are sadistic fucking morons, but also desperation drives people to all sorts. And also when you got nothing to lose,
grew up
well, want to do whatever you can for whatever you want.
poor.
Okay.
So I have been on both sides of the coin, and I can reflect and look back on some of the lifestyle choices that I was making, some of the people that I was hanging around. So I don't think that people can initially control if they're born into poverty,
Right.
but I think that there is a certain level of control that comes along with being able to.
It's like, if you're rich, it's a choice to be poor. If you're rich already, I mean, I guess so. Like, if you're born and you're a millionaire when you're born, it's a choice if you're poor. I mean, if you're not born a millionaire, then no. But it's a choice if you're already rich. Technically true, because you're moving downwards. But if you're moving like downwards when you're already poor, I don't think that really means anything, because that's what happens when people push you down, you know? When all the rich people are like, well, we still want to grow our wealth. We're not satisfied with 200 billion quid. No, we want more. A trillion soon. Give it here. So push it down, pushing down, pushing down. There's over 1 quadrillion in this world. Just to make that you aware. So the insane amount of wealth people have is just, you know, like, don't worry. You'll still be squeezed for ever.
To have that determination and that resilience.
Yeah, dude, being poor is a mindset. Also, people choose not to be inside of homeless shelters. They choose to fucking literally live in tents and eat trash instead. But I will not examine what kind of systemic failures that represents, and instead just say, oh, you're choosing to fucking live in a tent and eat shit and trash. Let's not examine the systemic problems that fucking presents in and of itself.
We need to realize that these people are on the street not because of their own choosing, but
This
because
is kind of funny. David, poor. They're like, broke boy. David, broke boy.
some people don't even want to be rich. Like, I don't want to be rich. Like, but I also don't want to be poor. I'm happy in the middle. And I would want to live in society where they could perpetuate people to live themselves.
I respect this dude. This guy's awesome. This fucking dude is dope. I totally understand. He's right. It's like, you don't want to be rich. You don't want to be poor. The most important fucking thing for me specifically, as well as people like this, is the fact that you want to be comfortable. You want freedom. I care about being able to continue doing what I do.
Yeah, I mean, I would love for this to be my job. It's never going to be. Let's face it, it's not going to be. You know, that's just a fact. I think one of the major reasons that I'm not willing to exploit people, you know, so I think, you know, that's a problem. You know, I'm not going to go. And go down to the description and go to my course. It's for $45 a year. And what you need to do is you need to do this thing, because what it will mean is that you'll achieve financial success, and you'll get all these people who will like you and all. No, it won't. What you're doing there is scamming people, but you're doing it legally. You know, just because something is legal doesn't mean it's okay. You know, and I think certain things you shouldn't do. It's not, of course, just that this will never be my job. Just inherently, it's just not a possibility. It's not really how YouTube works as a thing. It's just like YouTube sort of is just like it's, you know, you need to have some sort of a starting point. I've discussed this before, which is that one of the more interesting things is that once you start earning money with YouTube, you actually tend to see growth, way more increased growth than before, because before you were worth very little to YouTube. Like, you're worth nothing. They can't place ads in your videos. You know, it's one of the theories people say that maybe YouTube should place ads in all videos, and that would encourage them to promote smaller creators, because there wouldn't be this thing of like, well, why would I promote the smaller creator? They're worth nothing to us. If someone views my videos, that's worth nothing to YouTube. You know, the only ads they're going to see are, guys, like homepage ads. They're not going to see in-video ads. You know, you shouldn't have seen an ad before this video. It's the thing. Shouldn't have seen an ad before this video. If there was, there must be like a copyright issue. You know, that sort of thing. It's like, inherently there's a problem there, which is that they're not going to promote you then. So you need to like slowly reach this level of 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watching hours, and then maybe then you can start doing this. But like, inherently, I think this is not going to be my job, ever.
No matter what, I care about the freedom that I have because of this community, from sponsorships that I don't need to take. I care about not having to stop myself, not having to censor myself, having all complete editorial freedom with the knowledge that I can fucking go around, say whatever the fuck I want, even if it is against people in powerful places, people in positions of power, or even when it's like a
Now, I would argue that is what I've argued before, which is inherently the point of, like, I've seen some of the most popular creators on the platform, make jokes about how capitalism is kind of shit. Like, it's like, yeah, but they know, the people in power know it doesn't matter how many times creators joke or point out that capitalism is terrible and it's an exploitative system, it's never going to change anything. Ever. Because inherently, you are either going to have an election where stupid people vote for capitalist voting systems, or you're going to have a relatively slightly fixed election. This doesn't necessarily mean fixed. This could mean the rules are in place for, only candidates who support, capitalism in some shape or form to go for election, So you can't put in a socialist, basically, in power. They let a few in so that you can vote for them, but, they won't have power, This is why you have people who are semi-socialist in the Democratic Party, but the Democratic Party as a whole is a right-wing party, It's weird for a party that is right-wing to have socialism in it, but then you think, well, actually, no, it isn't, because what they're there for is to appease you, because that way you can continue voting for them, because they're on your side, not really, but this is one of the major problems in America as well. And when it comes to the world is, there's other countries that have better political systems, because there actually are left-wing parties there, but America is terrible because there's never going to be a country free of capitalism in America unless something changes, like, significantly, like a radical event, because you won't have that, and that's sort of the point. It's like you're never going to have capitalism failing in America, or in most countries. So it's just like it's all well and good to argue. I can say what I like, but it's like people in power don't really care what you say and what you do, because it's not going to change anything.
completely against the common attitude that the overwhelming majority holds on to, like it's a fucking fact of life. I would not be able to do that if I did not have the financial independence and security by having a community like this offers. Yeah, like the fucking Crackergate saga. Yes, like using the term.
Oh, don't censor yourself. No. As I said before, Cracker is a very interesting thing there, because Cracker in my country it's not obviously used now really as much, but back in the day, would have been used for, semi-positive purposes, although, like a lot of words, that can be used kind of negatively, not like that, as a so-called racial slur, which is, I did not know about that before this. I'll tell you how much, like...
Billionaires should not exist.
Okay. I have to say, unless you're a billionaire, even if you're a millionaire, you should still be on this side, because inherently you have to ask yourself, if you're a millionaire, do you think, how long will you keep a hold of your money? Because the billionaires are going to suck all the poorest people of all the wealth they can until they're turned into pretty much actual slaves. And then they're going to make their way up until, well, they're already seizing a lot of wealth from people from all corners, but there's going to be increasing pressure, so your millions are not particularly safe when there are billionaires out there. Because yes, I would say you can keep your $6 million. Fine. Go ahead. Don't earn anything more. Stop earning money. But, you can keep it. But your billionaire is not going to think that. Billionaire is going to think, no. Give that to me.
I don't see how anyone could ever spend $1 billion. It's not a necessity to have that much money, and I feel like there is a certain cap in which you can completely survive and thrive with this amount of money, and then if you surpass that, you're just hoarding.
And then we've seen what people with billions of dollars are doing with
I don't think necessarily that's the main argument, though. The main argument is like your fair share. If you're taking more than your fair share, you're stealing. That's what you're doing. You are effectively like robbing a. Damn, sorry. You're like effectively like robbing a bank, but like robbing a bank with no insurance. Like if someone robs a bank and you got money in that bank, the bank is legally required to make sure your money is safe. That's the whole point of the bank. That even if someone robs that bank, your money is safe. So even if someone steals 100 million and it was your money that you put in the bank, of course now it's not really that anymore because real money is not really what's stored at banks. But if someone hacks it and it has the money transferred, your money is supposed to be safe. It's supposed to be insured up to a point. In my country, that point is around 100,000 in some banks. Some banks don't have a security thing. If your account is hacked, for example, they won't do anything on it. All these sort of things. If the bank goes bust, also things like that. But the point is that imagine the billionaire robs your bank, but there's no insurance. That's effectively what's going on here. They're taking money that you actually lose. Because currently, if someone robs a bank, it doesn't really make much of a difference. The bank are the only people who really lose out, and insurance companies. You could argue you lose out because the bank will then put their prices up because they'll have increased insurance payouts. But
their money. They're going to space for fun.
Right.
Clearly,
Bro, the existence of billionaires is an indication that there is a systemic failure. Just like every single homeless person is in the exact same way an indication of systemic failures, of policy failure. The level of wealth hoarding that these people engage in is absolutely unimaginably psychotic. It is insane.
When you look at a lot of billionaires who have gotten that way because of the just incredible amount of value they've given to
fuck you.
society. I won't even talk about a huge, crazy billionaire. I'll talk about Jay-Z, who's a billionaire. He made amazing music.
Okay, but it doesn't matter if you make amazing music. Okay, let's break this down. Music is in no way value, okay? Neither is this. I'm not providing value. It doesn't matter if I make 1 quid, 1 billion quid, 1 trillion quid, 1 million quid, 1,000, 100,000. It doesn't matter what amount of money I make. All of that is no reason because I am not providing value here. There are very few people on this planet who have jobs that actually provide value. Very few people on this planet who actually do anything that provides value. Whether it's voluntary work, like a job, or any sort of work, Like, the work people do, most of it is either selfishness or, even when you're being exploited, it's useless. Why exactly is there an existence for waiters? Oh, because people are too selfish to do things, or else they don't have enough time. Why don't they have enough time? Because they're constantly busy, because they've got work to do. It's an intrinsic, the system is always locked around the thing of, oh, you can't do this little job for yourself because you're too busy doing this job. You can't, then this job is required because people can't do this job themselves. So why exactly do we have a system like that? What I'm saying is, writers, most of this is not required. There is very little jobs that actually provide value. I remember I was talking about PragerU before. They don't provide value. Most people in the universities don't provide value. Obviously some courses in universities provide extreme value. Like, it's very important for medicine, for history. It is important for us to have our history, remember it. All these things are important, but there are a lot of things that are not important. Okay, and the entertainment industry is definitely one of them. Okay, the entertainment industry is a way to pacify you, so because you're depressed all the time, so you feel the few moments in your life by spending it watching stuff like this. Or if you click away and you watch something else, the point is, you're not actually providing value if you're in the entertainment industry, okay? Don't ever talk to me about value, okay? Because the majority of people do not provide value. It's just a circle of people doing jobs because other people don't have time so those people don't have time because they're doing other jobs, you know? And the only people who actually benefit out of this system are the very, very rich who don't have to do those jobs. And I'm just going to make this very clear. If you've got more than 6 million quid, then guess what? You are a little thief. You're taking more than your fair share. Doesn't matter if you're making extreme value to the system. You are stealing, you little thief. So now you must have all that wealth taken from you. The point is, inherently, is that when we are in a society in which you have this, you cannot talk about value because it doesn't work as a concept, because you don't provide value. Rich people don't provide value. CEOs drain their corporations they work for out of wealth. You're better off without CEOs most of the time. Managers make bad decisions and they get paid too much. Okay? Let me explain this to you. It is not good for these people, even for the companies they work for. Of course, the thing is that, well, someone's going to have that job. And someone is going to, waste a bunch of money. So, well, Now, I would say let's just remove those systems, but I'm pretty sure the shareholders are not going to do that because inherently, what are shareholders providing? They're not providing value, unless you mean capital value. But that's arguably you could just remove that. My point is inherently is that educators provide value, farmers provide value, healthcare professionals provide value, police officers, fire people. Sorry, all of these things, they provide value, but very few others do. Essential services, that's the whole point of essential services. Transport industry, they provide value, but a lot of people don't provide value, like, no offense meant, but is this providing value? No. Is this website providing value at all? Not any value that shouldn't already exist. Any education stuff? Well, that should already be, teachers already have that. They don't, but, they should. Entertainment, you shouldn't need to be entertained because, entertainment is inherently to stave off depression. Oftentimes. Comedy, possibly, but, once again, kind of just like cheer yourself up sort of thing. All of these things, they don't intend, like, they're not really providing value. They're providing value because that's the way, because, there's a deficit. Why is there a deficit? Because, you're taken from. So no, fucking talk to me about value.
That's how he became a billionaire.
Dog, what about you? You're literally a fucking landlord. Also, Jay-Z didn't become a billionaire because he fucking made music. He became a billionaire because he owns a fuckload of brands and shit.
Yeah, true. Also, can I just make this point? Like musicians are like a terrible example because the amount of plagiarism, the amount of theft, and the amount of exploitation when it comes to it is just insane. So if you're a musician and you're making $1 billion, yeah, not only did you rise to the top there, but you had to exploit someone.
I feel like that is the government's job. And Jay-Z, like you said, Jay-Z made his money from music. That's his labor.
The thing is, though, is that who bought his stuff?
He's a musician. He's selling his talent. But then when he invested in alcohol, then he's using other people who are harvesting the wheat, the agave. They're breaking their back. They're using their labor.
So do you think that he shouldn't invest in those people?
What about the job?
What do you mean?
They're having jobs.
Yeah, but how much are they getting paid?
That's a terrible argument. Terrible argument. He's providing... No. If you paid people more, right? If you pay people twice as much as they're getting paid now, right? Twice as much as they're getting paid now, and then slash their hours down to half, right? And got more people in, second lot of people and paid them twice as much, but obviously gave them less hours. There'd be less hours worked overall, but the same amount of money, or possibly more. And the point is that inherently, that would be giving more jobs, wouldn't it? But guess what? It wouldn't really. You're not making jobs. It's the same argument when a corporation comes into town and makes jobs. Nah, it doesn't. It makes jobs, sure, but it crushes more than it makes. So no, doesn't make jobs. Net-wise. Anyway.
Paid for the jobs, or those jobs in the third world where they're getting paid pennies,
Yeah,
and then
versus
Jay-Z
no
makes
job.
millions off their labor.
How many
Yeah, it's atrocious. Like,
This dude's awesome, and he's right. And anyone who fucking cries about it, juicer or not,
like this is my point. In essence, like every single person who works in a sweatshop should have a house of their own. Like should be worth over like 150 grand. You know? That's a fact, by the way. That's not arbitrary. Oh, under socialism people will be. No, that's the actual fact. Like that's a low area. Like that's a low estimation. That's like from the amount of money we can actually roughly count. That is what our estimation is, okay? Okay, so that's not, oh, we want this, but people will be like, well, that's not really what would happen. No. If every bit of money was shared equally, every single person on this planet would have at least 150 grand. More, actually.
is literally fucking a dumbass. His worldview is more aligned with your own personal interest, whether you recognize it or not. Some of your daddies and mommies might be like fucking an owner of like a fucking, I don't know, used car dealership or some shit. But ultimately, most of you, straight the fuck up, are going to benefit from more people believing this exact same thing and advocating for this exact same idea. Such a brain dead argument. Well, at least my slaves are fed. If I wasn't there, they would starve. Yeah, 100%. It's the same exact argument. It's not just the money that's the issue. It's the power they hold over everyone else. They will inevitably tilt the scales towards them. I don't really give.
I think the benefit, though, inherently with a system is that you can break it relatively easy just by kind of like slowly removing pieces off a table. See, the problem with gaining wealth to this level is it eventually leads to economic collapse, which, kind of is gonna like end in manufactured famine, and it's gonna end in all these sort of things. But it's a bit like the idea of if you instead remove the pieces, so remove the pawns off the table, then slowly what occurs is this shift in wealth where you have too much money. Really, you begin to acquire everything. But then, well, there's one way to remove the acquirer of everything: just steal. And this is like this never leads to theft. Like this is what happens. This is what people are resorting to. Like there's the reason why there was a famine in my country was because they kept exporting the food. So it didn't matter if you wanted to like steal the food away so that you could live. It didn't matter. There was no food. To steal the food, you had to get on a boat to England and take it back. That was the only way to steal the food because the food was guarded and was sent off. So that would mean there was no shops in Ireland selling food. That was the point. So if you were very rich, you had to buy the food back from England. And obviously that was a problem. So the point is, it's slightly different in the modern world because now, if you're in a Western country, no longer do you have this situation where it's like, oh no, only the people in the producers, only the people in South America, Africa, Asia, and some Asian countries are, going to have to starve and not be able to steal. If you're in a Western country, you will starve too. If you're in America, you will starve too. But the benefit for you is that you can steal the food. Because instead of that food being exported off somewhere, now it's in that shopping center. You can go into that Walmart, you can go into that Aldi, you can go into that Lidl, and you can take that food. And, yeah, obviously not advocating for stealing because it's not necessarily great for yourself because, you know, it can cause, imprisonment and stuff. So
to give a shit about some jackass buying a yacht? Yeah, I am a hedonist. I don't personally give a fuck about people buying dumb shit or
I think, in essence, to a point, if you're spending hundreds of millions on a yacht, nah, feck that. You shouldn't have that for your own use. If that was publicly owned, if, 50,000, 100,000, a million people owned that, yeah, maybe, because sure, we all might. I probably wouldn't, to be honest. But we all can use a bit of leisure time. But of course, it's when it's privately owned within like one or two or like a family. Then it's like, no.
entertainment largely revolves around streaming for 8 hours to people that
Streaming or dreaming.
I may never actually meet. That's how I entertain myself, but I personally understand how some people like to fucking consume commodities. I like to consume commodities every now and then as well, and some
I don't know about myself. Like, I don't know. It's always that sort of thing where I think I'm more the kind of person who like would need things to satisfy my wants, Like if I want to improve the quality of these videos, so I might get a faster computer because currently I can't afford to get a high-end computer, for a couple of hundred or a couple of grand. I can't afford that. I physically do not have the money to purchase that. But if I did, would I? Maybe. I don't know. Like if I had the money, would I? Maybe. Yeah, I probably would because I'd be like, well, I improve the content, I'll do all this sort of thing. It's those kind of things. Like it's things you need to satisfy your wants. Which is basically your wants. But when I would say wants, it'd be like wants would be like, and people do this all the time, and sometimes it's very stupid. It's like, that's not necessary. Like buying pro skiing gear when you're an amateur skier. It's like you're not gonna use the stuff there. You're just not. That's kind of wasteful. But sometimes it is true. Like a faster computer would make editing these videos, faster. It would make, the disjointed audio from time to time. I'd be able to like fix that. If I had the money, I could get better editing software. All these things, and these things mean that, in essence, you can improve things. And it's not like, this is always an issue when it comes to technology. It's like the pro features. It's not really pro. It's just the money. Do you want things to look professional? Like, like you can't really say professional kind of implies you get paid for it, but like you can get paid for anything. Like it's one of the things before I remember hearing, I think it was in one of these videos before, it's like, I own my own business. It's like, yeah, I mean, so anyone can own their own business. Like literally anyone. Like in my country, you don't even need to pay any money. You can just, sole trader business, if it's it's just instant. And if you want an LTD business, well, which is like a private limited company, you just register. You pay a bit of money. You might have to pay a bit of money to like an accountant or a solicitor to file the paperwork, or spend a lot of time filing it yourself. But in essence, while yes, it'll cost you. So obviously, not everyone is going to go ahead and do that. If you've got a big ego and you want to own a business, well, yeah, there you go. It's very, very, very affordable, and you can just funnel money into it and get less money back, or maybe the same amount of money. And the point is, yeah, that's technically professional. You're technically getting paid for that. Obviously, yeah, that's not going to work for those of us who actually have to like, work or get assistance for those kind of things. It's not gonna really be a thing for those who don't have excessive amounts of money.
sometimes even
Still though, I mean, you could argue if you just got a little bit of money on the side, it's a possibility. It's wasteful, but it's still a possibility.
Drugs or alcohol. So there's that. I get that reality. I don't give a shit about that. It is more so the wealth hoarding, creating a system that is completely unbalanced, that perpetuates that same cycle of structural violence in the form of poverty. That's the issue.
True.
People
What the hell? What the?
I just got decimated. We'll just adjust and add some link runes and
Whatever.
People who make $1 billion get a fraction of the value they create. Everybody.
What? Wait, what are you saying, buddy?
That's the issue.
People who make $1 billion get a fraction of the value they
Get a fraction.
create. Everybody here who has a business understands that. Even
Do you mean they get more than what they put in? Buddy, I mean,
even Jay-Z only gets 15 cents a record.
oh my god. Okay, first of all, yeah, and do you know who gets less? Most other like smaller creators get 0.002 or in fact less in often cases. So yeah, don't tell me, oh, they only get 15 cents a record. Yeah, buddy, you know, technically on if there was ads on this video, it would only be like a quarter of a cent, I believe. Quarter of a cent. So like, yeah, a quarter of a cent, no offense meant, for a view on a video, yeah, not great. But what happens if I get 10 million views or 100 million views? That makes it a lot more comparable, doesn't it? Which basically makes the service industry where you're not supplying an individual service. Like, for example, an accountant is supplying an individual service. Like an accountant can't, by doing your, taxes or doing your filing, or someone in a shop, stocking the shelves for one shop. They're not stocking the shelves for 10,000 simply by 10,000 shops, knowing about the existence of stocking shelves, But with these industries, like writing a book, the entertainment industry, like making a film, they're inherently a problem because they are inherently focused on how much money all the people together pool in, how many customers come to purchase that product, does not really increase the price of production. It's like I've seen some very good TV shows. They haven't had a season 2 or whatever. They just about had a season 1. Why do you think that was? Because not enough customers went there. They were an amazing TV show. Fab-alistic. I would love for a season 2 to come out, but it's not going to. You know why? Because not enough people watched it. And the problem is, ultimately, is that inherently that's going to be an issue. Because in the entertainment industry, you can't make an argument of, oh, even they don't, yeah, that's a problem, obviously. So, maybe we should not have an institution in which, businesses focus on things like that, It's just...
He sells.
That's because he got exploited by the record label who's using his label to make money. It's the same
you
thing
keep using this word exploiting like you understand the record business.
Fuck off, man. Fuck off. Okay?
Business of which I am in.
Yeah, buddy, you don't understand the record business because you're in it. That's the whole point. It's like you can't see things when you're too close to them. Imagine you're very close to a painting. Your eyes are right up next to it. Imagine, can you see the whole painting? You can't see the big picture because you're focused on you making the cash, whether it's for you or the business. So the point is, if you sign a record deal with me where you publish my records so you sell them to people, it's my fucking music, buddy. Where's your records without the music? Now, yes, you can go, well, I'll just go to this person. But if we withdraw all the music, every single piece of music ever made, you're no longer allowed to own that. You don't own that at all. No ownership rights. Every single piece of music is withdrawn. Now, can I ask, what labor are you providing? Because most times it's the same way with governments, with like the civil service. It's like you're just sort of pushing, paper on the place, which is, of course, it can be a hard job, but it's not really a necessary one. All the time. Sometimes it is. I'm not saying all red tape and all stuff is necessarily bad. It isn't. You do want to ensure things are all above board. But sometimes it just is. And it's really, really, unless you're like someone who's working on the ground floor of a record business, you cannot make an argument you're providing value, because you're not. If you're working for a record business and you're working as a lowly employee, yeah, you are, because you're doing the grunt work. But if you're like a CEO, or like someone in management, like, yeah, boy, you got yourself a deal. I'm gonna pay you $1,000 and we're gonna make $50,000 off of you. Boom!
Record labels back hundreds of artists. Do you know how many go busto? Okay.
Don't say busto.
They're taking risk.
Oh my God. This dude is not going to say the record industry is not like, first of all, there's exploitation in the Marxist sense.
I mean, yeah, I think everyone can realize the record industry is exploitative. It doesn't make much sense. It's the same with the author industry. Like, oh, yeah, boy, you get 10% of your labor, and that's a good deal. Like, okay, that's not what, like, major, like, famous to an impressive degree. Like, you cannot replace them. Like, I mean, like, you cannot replace them. Like, if they say no, you're losing out majorly. Like, there is no one you can get that is as big or even as close to them. I'm talking like the transphobic one. She wrote the fantasy. J.K. Rowling. Like she's worth over $1 billion. How do you think that is? What she chooses to do with her money, like donate to the Scottish Unionist Fund, to ensure Scotland stays with the UK, with England. Not nice. And, supporting transphobia is not nice. It's kind of disgusting, to be honest, what people decide to do with their money, But basically, I'm just saying, like, you can't replace people like that. But when you're talking about, like, smaller but still pretty famous creators who are in the author industry, they get tiny amounts, and that is inherently exploitation. Like, even they can sort of realize that, a lot of them. But the record label industry is even more so, because instead of getting 10%, they get 1%, and then that's if you're famous. And if you're not so famous, less than 1%. What's that? Less than 1% of what you put in?
Which is the extraction of surplus labor value, the company taking more than you actually fucking put in the form of work, right? That's called profits. That's the Marxist understanding of exploitation. But then...
Well, I mean, technically, you could argue you don't necessarily... You can make profits without necessarily extracting labor out of just someone, because you can, fluctuate with prices and do all these things. Of course, what that will mean is scamming the customer. So yeah.
There's even the exploitation that capitalists understand, right? Like the colloquial understanding of exploitation, which record labels are fucking famous for doing.
Yeah.
You got slavery, and then you got record label 360 deals. Straight the fuck up. It's not even a joke. It's like the most contemporary example of exploitation that everyone agrees on. Even capitalists. Like, most capitalists will look to what record labels do and they're like, well, that's fucked up, bro.
Even capitalists who basically do slavery, are like, that's kind of slavery in a way, isn't it? It's like you're signed to a contract where you must produce music, but even if, like, you want to, you can't leave the contract, but they can drop you, Like, if a record label chooses, they can drop you, but you can't drop them. you can't say no more of you. You don't have to sell my music anymore, but you're not allowed to own the rights to my music anymore. No more royalties for you. Okay, I'm taking my business elsewhere, you know? Like, how is that fair? How come after someone, like, if I say, okay, no more, you don't have to do any more. Okay, I understand. You are selling this. You're having this brought to, shops, and you're having this sold on my website, which, all these things. Like, I don't know what, you're not really providing any value there, but even so, the point is, okay, you don't have to do anything else. Don't worry, you can stop working on my music. I'll just go and publish it myself because I've got fans now. No, you're not allowed to do that because now it's owned legally by them. How the hell does that work? Like, your work is owned by them?
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. And this motherfucker is defending that shit? It is the most predatory fucking industry, dude.
Yeah, like, fascists can understand. Fascists can understand. That is a line even they do not particularly view as not exploitative. Now, who's to say they wouldn't do it themselves if they were at the record label industry? Yeah, some of them would. They're like, it's exploitative, but it's also very profitable for record labels. So yeah, I mean, if I was in the position, I'm just saying, if I was in the position, no, I wouldn't do that.
Song with almost 10 million plays. I own less than 10%. Record labels are dog shit.
The tapes paying the engineers, marketing, etc. They're exploiting them.
Most marketing is not really done for smaller creators oftentimes because they're not seen as worth it.
Taking on a bet.
Yeah, dude, they're taking on a bet. Meanwhile, the guy who like actually fucking produced the music while living out of his car, that guy, what was he doing? He was in the lap of luxury, right? Dumbass. That guy's taking the real fucking bet. And
yeah, that's the thing. When you spent those nights working on that content, what could you be doing? You could be working an actual job, maybe a secondary one. But guess what? Maybe you wanted to fulfill your craft. Maybe you are unable to work. Maybe all of these things. So guess what? Maybe that was what you were doing. Trying to at least somewhat have an existence in which there is a bit of enjoyment that doesn't come from a subtle, like, almost drug-like system in which it's like, yes, go ahead, why not buy something, you want to buy something, don't you? Buy something, you'll feel better if you buy something. Oh, you've no money? Well, don't you worry, all you have to do is put in the credit card details, and then you have that money. You'll have to pay back at exorbitant rates that will be enormous, and you'll never be able to pay back. You'll go into massive debt and you won't be able to escape. Yeah,
Most importantly, fuck the bet. That guy is literally putting his life on the line.
True.
And also making the material. So
True.
suck my dick. What kind of bets would you
No need to go that far.
take if there was no fucking artist to sign on a fucking
True.
insane 360 deal? Okay?
True.
None. You would be taking no bets because you'd be fucked. You'd be looking for like AI
Also, no offense, but like,
to produce.
you can't really talk about bets when it's like, yeah, they take bets. It's like, no offense, but I can tell you this much. If a publishing company wanted to, they could turn any little piece of shit into a bestseller. Okay? Because full well, people will lap anything up. You get a few people to rave about it, boom, 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 it's a bestseller. But of course, they're not bothered on that. See, that would be a true bet. Because maybe it wouldn't work. And that's sort of the point, isn't it? You're not really taking a bet. Because my point is, you've got a very high chance of that succeeding. Except that's going to cost a lot of money. So, you're better off taking the, safer so-called bet where you just make the money back. Also, how many artists go? No, don't say that, by the way. Yeah, what's that down to?
Music or some shit. Yo, that sucks, dude. That is. So
I've listened to famous people's music before, and I've heard about other people's famous music before, and it's pretty bad, actually. As most famous people who get famous out of something else. But the problem is, doesn't really matter because it makes money, you know? Like, they sing a song or write a piece of music and it makes a ton of money. My point is, that's sort of the point. People lap it up. It's not good music, you know? So what would happen if you took an unknown artist, marketed them a bit, actually marketed them a bit, put them in actual shops and stores and all that sort of stuff, and actually did that, did an actual bet, they'd be more successful, they'd be successful, yeah.
So fucking lame.
Just give everybody 50-50, they'll go bankrupt.
Oh my
No, that's not really true.
God, if they give everybody 50-50, they'll go bankrupt? What kind of okay, then they deserve to go bankrupt. What kind of fucking idiotic take is this? So what, just because they're taking a fucking bet, some people make $10, give him 50% of the $10. Some people make $1 million, give him 50% of $1 million. Why is it like predatory lending? The way that like record labels.
I think what I've sort of like, it wasn't a story, it was like I guess an article. I have this like website that I've like created this word. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is basically there's this like it's invented by me, but basically it's just a concept I've tried to explore of what would happen if you capped wealth. If you said, if you earn over any amount of money, we just take it off you. So let's say it's 50 million. So if you have any money over 50 million, we just take it off you. No, you don't get to keep that at all. 100% tax on everything. You're not allowed make over that. And you're not allowed have over that. So, you're not allowed to just make like 49 and the next year 49 again. Like, just 50 million is your max net worth. Make over that and boom, they just take it off you. That would be there wouldn't even be an equal society. But what it would do is it would restrict exploitation, because it would mean your record label, sure, they can do that. But the thing is, they're gonna have the money taken off them. And that's basically my point. So I don't necessarily think you should pay people exorbitant amounts of money, because that it doesn't matter if you rose to the top in an industry or anything like that. Like, if I exploded in popularity and I became one of the most popular creators online and I was making tens of millions, I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want to keep that, because I would feel, if you're earning over this amount of money, I don't think any individual is allowed claim ownership to over like 4 million. Any individual, does not matter what industry they're in, you cannot claim to that. With companies, it gets a little bit more complicated. This is one of the reasons why people have corporation taxes based on profits, not revenue, because certain companies will be dealing in considered very expensive products, but obviously meaning that they don't necessarily have a high profit margin. Some companies will have a turnover of 200 billion and have a profit margin of 2%. Obviously, that's still a significant amount of profit, but it is a case with some companies that you do have mixed sort of situations. But of course, this means the right to exploitation, because people run their income through corporations and buy things with it, and then it's basically tax evasion, but it's tax avoidance. But basically, it's not great. But basically, at the end of the day, what I would say is I don't think anyone deserves to have over 4 million. But it is a theoretical option to just take it. If they earn over it, just take it. Just have like a 100% tax. Just do no. If you have more than if you've got 4 million, every single paycheck you get goes straight to the government.
Have to survive. There is not a single fucking musician that'll be like, oh yeah, I love record labels, actually they're great. I've never met a single fucking musician that's like record
even the richest musicians in the world are not so brain dead after all the drugs they've taken. That is a generalization and a joke. So, I'm not saying all famous musicians are drug takers, but I'm just saying, even the most famous ones that are, kind of not the brightest, are in a position where they're able to realize that it's exploitation.
Record labels are tight. Maybe indie record labels that are owned by other musicians, but beyond.
Even then, oftentimes that leads down to exploitation, because oftentimes it's really miserable. Musicians, they feck each other over. Like you'll have a musician who create an indie sort of thing. They'll be a kind of mega millionaire, and they'll pump money in, and then boom, they got a few artists, and because of their business model, they'll get a lot of artists, and then they got a lot of artists, and then because of the business model, artists will explode because there's increased rates of popularity because of the fact of the approach you can take. Obviously, it means you can't hire as many artists, but it does mean you've got a lot more of this sort of like, you've got big artists now who you've got now signed to, and of course, if you really want to be ethical, you wouldn't sign them permanently. But the point is, what happens then? Well, a big record label goes to the musician and says 500 million or half, quarter of a billion, whatever the case may be. And then the musician goes, ooh. Will you keep the name? You'll ensure that it appears as if I haven't done anything wrong? Yeah, we'll keep the name. Boom. Now, Universal Records or Sony Music or any of those things, I've looked at it. The major record labels that actually can sell stuff, that are accepted into the music market, most of them are either major records or they're owned by major records. There's one owned by, Jack Dorsey. Yeah. There's one owned by his company. They own that. Like, just, I looked it up, it was just like, oh, I wonder, am I trying some of these? No. Turns out most of them are either directly, private, sort of like megacorps, or they're owned by, rich billionaires, or private megacorps.
On that, most of them get acquired by three big ones.
He pointed it out.
Anyway, and become dog shit regardless. And even indie record labels are fucking bad usually.
I actually want to ask a question of how you define exploited and why you're saying that.
I'm using exploited in the Marxian term where your labor creates value and then your employer
I
takes
love this dude. This dude is fucking based. He's awesome.
I mean, you do want to be careful with saying you love the dude. I mean, I have said I've loved a creator before. And on reflection, it's probably not a good idea, because I'm not saying they have, I'm not accusing them of anything, I just being safe. It is theoretically possible. As it's theoretically possible, every single person you like, enjoy, or even love, that they are in actual fact kind of a horrible person. Like a really horrible person. Like, they're that moron, or they're actually kind of evil. It is always theoretically possible that that's the case. Doesn't necessarily mean, like, some people are upfront with the fact that they're horrible. Now, of course, some people aren't able to see that. But in other cases, it's hidden. The person seems nice, but they're actually not.
value and distributes it unevenly to themselves and then leaves the rest for the workers. That's exploitation.
The economy is rigged.
Okay, if you don't think the economy is rigged, and you're in America, wow, you're stupid. I mean, even in Europe, at least in Europe, it's like the economy is rigged, but it's less obviously so.
If you're born in a rich family, you have more opportunities. And as someone who is poor, living paycheck to paycheck, you're stuck having to apply to jobs and settle.
Bro, how the fuck do people not universally agree that the economy is rigged? You can say that the economy is rigged and like...
Because this is the point. Like, as I've said before, inherently, you can be a conservative as long as you're, like, rich or, like, in a powerful position. It makes sense to vote conservative for yourself. It's a selfish move. It means you don't care about the rest of your fellow human beings. But it is a smart move on your part. Like, for you, it makes sense because you benefit off that. You know what I mean? Like, if we have an equal society and you're a mega billionaire or a mega millionaire, like I'm talking like mega millionaire, you're not like maybe in America, because America has stolen so much wealth from like other countries that if you did share out America's wealth, I'm sure probably a lot of people would be mega millionaires because they've stolen so much wealth from elsewhere. It's the same thing with like England, you know, like because they've stolen so much wealth over the years, it means that like if you went to, you know, South America, parts of Asia, Africa, well, you know, all these things. If you add up all that wealth and split it between people, they're probably less than 150,000 because of the amount of exploitation being done. Because obviously there are countries that have sprung up that have massive wealthy populations that obviously if you spread the wealth, there would be massive wealth. But the point is, for a lot of countries, the exploitation that has resulted means that technically countries like America, if they split the wealth between just Americans, just American wealth just between Americans, you probably mega millionaire. But like if you're a billionaire and you are, you know, in a there's a Marxist revolution and your wealth is seized off you, but they say we'll give you back your fair share. Yeah, you're going to lose out. So it doesn't make sense to vote for a Marxist government, but that doesn't change the fact that the economy is still rigged. You should be able to understand that. Like, you know, that's why you're voting conservative. That's the whole point, to keep the economy rigged, you know?
Like benefits rich people, but that kind of wealth hoarding is actually overall a good thing. You
Oh,
can say
it's
the
not
economy
right.
is rigged, but it's not a good thing, obviously. But this notion that the economy isn't rigged is a silly one. Okay?
Yeah.
How the fuck do you believe in such nonsensical bullshit?
Like the EU, for example, right, restricts the formation of public monopolies. You know? Now, obviously, you can theoretically say, well, is there a way around that by getting a government to strategically form a secondary company, make that and have that as a, you know, fake competitor, which is what companies in the private sector do all of the time. All of the time. And I'm serious about this. Like, all of the time. Companies like Google, sorry, Google, I'm not calling out, I'm just saying, you know, all these companies, they are desperate to ensure they're not seen as monopolies. So, they create secondary companies. They bankroll secondary companies. They make sure those companies can never supersede them. Make sure those companies are always kept underfoot, but not too underfoot that it just seems as if they're just like another small business that could be easily crushed at the end of the day. So basically what that means is that ultimately you can avoid that legislation, theoretically. Although you could argue technically, you know, the EU are not completely stupid. They probably see through and go like, no, we're going to break up that one specifically. You know, we're going to enforce the rules specifically there. But, you know, my point is at the end of the day that when it comes to it, when you look at it, it's like, you know, the economy is rigged, and that's sort of the point. Like, you're not allowed.
I agree and disagree. I agree that it's rigged to incentivize certain areas and behaviors, like we have millions and millions of farm subsidies, so it supports agribusiness.
What the fuck? This guy's like, it's rigged, but in all the ways where I'm not making money. It's definitely not rigged in the ways that I'm making money, but definitely rigged in all the other ways.
I mean, I'm my argument for people who, you know, are against agriculture is, do you want to die? Because, no offense, but that's the point. Because you keep exploiting the farmer, it means that the government keeps to pay food. Like, do you understand? This is why food is cheaper, because farmers are exploited. This means farmers need more money. Otherwise, it's just going to be like, well, why would I grow food then? If it costs me more than I get back, you know? I can't eat the food I'm making, for God's sake. What's that about? You know? That's why you need supplements.
Like, dude,
because the economy is rigged.
Rigged. Just say it's rigged.
But who creates the value? It's the workers who create the value.
Listen, there's people who take risk and they risk their money. That's creating value. What you discount.
That's not creating value. But I'm sorry, it's not creating value because what if you shot those people? What if you just remove those people and you put that money in the hands of the government? Boom. Now are we going to say the government should be paid money, like extra money on top of tax, just for investing their money? That's the whole point. That's what they're supposed to do. What people are doing is replacing the government and then charging a premium for it. Like, why? And as I said before, this is what the EU did. Actually, it's not what the EU did. It's the EU did in conjunction with right-wing governments in countries, which is what they did was they didn't really have a way of creating, a secondary person to compete. Like they didn't have someone to take over, the industry that the national companies were part of. So what did they do? What they did was they just created a middleman who could set their own prices. The problem was that meant for years you were buying from the same person, but through an additional person. As in, this fella is adding his fee on to your bill, and he's saying, I'm creating value. Yeah, but if we remove your job, that doesn't do anything, though. Removing your job doesn't affect the product. It improves it because now we don't have to pay for you for your cut. And instead, you can go off and you can work in a different industry that actually provides value. This is my point. Like, don't fucking talk to me about value. I get sick and tired of rich like this talk about value. Once again, I'm not providing value here. How am I providing value? No way am I providing value. There is no way I'm providing value. Most industries do not provide value. Obviously, certain industries do. And I'm not arguing for the abolition of all industries that don't provide value. I'm just saying that inherently, don't talk to me about value when you don't yourself provide value in that sense. We can abolish most of the economy if we want to talk about value. Just saying.
Is the person willing to risk their savings and provide capital for that venture and to be paid less? So if it goes busto, the worker still gets paid.
Stop saying busto.
Bro,
no, the worker does not get paid. Let me inform you. Once again, I worked on this audiobook before, and it wasn't a good one, to be honest. Hopefully the person doesn't feel bad about this, but maybe they won't. They probably, I'm not exactly, going to have any views, so it's not like they're going to be listening, but, maybe maybe I'll get one view and that'll be the one person. But anyway, probably no one's listened this far anyway. But the point is that I created this audiobook, and I sent it off to be reviewed, but the content was, it turned out, not theirs. They changed it up a bit, but it wasn't theirs. So basically, the audiobook got stuck in this sort of limbo position which was just like in a constant position that needs to be reviewed. I'm not sure if it wasn't the fact that they may have stolen it, or maybe it was the fact that someone just didn't really care. Like they just knew it wasn't going to sell enough units, so they were just like, I'm not bothering to review this. But anyway, I didn't get paid because that audiobook never went on sale. I'm just saying, I didn't get paid for that. I provided the labor, though. So, Also, no one spent any money there. Just saying. It's a corporation who, kind of needed to spend that money in order to sort of have any goods and services.
Dude, take it all the guys. Take this guy's money in its entirety. He keeps saying busto, and I fucking hate that. Okay, straight up.
I agree.
If you're saying busto, I'm taking all your money. He said
Yeah.
busto like 8 times. Okay. Oh well, it's busto, buddy. Let me just say something. Okay. Hey, you can't fucking cry about risk taking if you design the entire economy in a way where you minimize the actual risk. You can't say, yeah, we're risk taking, and then fucking complain when the government goes and builds fucking Section 8 housing down the street. If you're going to treat your fucking house as an investment vehicle Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. You took a risk and you got fucked, okay? But we don't do that. We never do that because the entire capitalist system is designed in a way where we mitigate the
argument.
risk for those risk takers, okay? For
True.
those who own capital. The largest risk that the capital owner takes is potentially becoming a laborer, a worker again.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens. Your fucking shit
Again,
goes
a
sideways.
lot of
it
the
goes
time, no,
presto as this
most mega wealthy people based a certain level of their wealth off of inheritance or gifts. Or trusts, you know, the kind of thing. Basically, they're basically free gifts from relatives / friends, or banks that might have been a little bit inclined to give you a little bit more money than they would have had you been a bit of a different person. Let's just say, like, I have a relative who tried to get a loan to set up they tried to set up a business. The bank refused it. It was a tiny amount of money. Like, I'm talking tiny. I believe it was in the hundreds. It was just like they didn't have much money, and they went in there, tried to get a loan. They refused them. Like, what does that say? Just saying. Were they a mega wealthy person? Do you think they refused them then?
bald man is saying. I can still be.
I'm just saying, like, that could have turned into a very successful business. You don't know. You don't know. And the point is, inherently, that's a problem, which is if you're poorer, a bank won't give you money. So it means you can't make that investment. You can't be that risk taker because you don't have the money to take that risk. But don't you worry, you can take a lower risk taker. Of course, the chances of your risk coming true are significantly lower. Like, if you buy a house, and I mean like outright, don't have a mortgage, you have a significantly less risk. Your risk is pretty much zero, because sure, if you don't have a mortgage, keep in mind, your house can't be taken from you. The only way your house can be taken from you, actually, there's no way your house can be taken from you, actually, because you don't have a mortgage. The bank doesn't own your house. You know what I mean? If you have a mortgage, obviously, yeah, your house can be taken from you. All it requires is economic collapse, and then. But if you don't have a mortgage, if you're that wealthy person, you just have the house outright. You can go through recession, and sure, the house might deflate in value. It might drop significantly. But even if it takes 20 years, it's going to return to its original investment. It's going to go beyond its original investment, because greed is a powerful force that will always force these things up, because people are greedy and they want more and more and more money.
Baldest, I hope. And what's the unforeseeable, or what's the outcome of that? Okay, if you can't take advantage of the million different things that the government offers you, if you are failing upwards once you get to a certain level of wealth, what do? Do they kill you? Do they take you out back when your business goes what was it, busto? What do? Do they take you out back and fucking put one in the back of your head? Do they put you in prison? No. You become a fucking worker. Why is the capital owner afraid of becoming a worker? Well, because they know how the fucking workers are treated under their reign.
Yeah.
It's like when racist white people are terrified of becoming a minority. Why? Because they know how they treat minorities, and they're worried that minorities, if they become a majority, will treat them in the same inhumane ways. There's no guarantee that that'll happen.
No
That's
offense, but
precisely
like,
what the fuck rich people are afraid of.
It's
you being bald is the
not-
equivalent of a white Hispanic being.
Not necessarily. It's not like, for example, in a lot of, like, in some countries, men are a minority, but they still oppress women. There's still a patriarchy. There's very few countries that can claim that they don't have a patriarchy and be right. I mean, I'm not like, a lot of countries will have people who are like, there's no patriarchy. No, there is a patriarchy. There's patriarchy in most Western countries and even non-Western countries, but often less so. Interestingly, that's not actually a whole thing with Western countries. That is a thing from countries like the likes of England and America. For example, in my country, women had more rights before we were invaded than 100 years after we were invaded. what does that say about your country? You know? Does that say perhaps that maybe you shouldn't have oppressive colonial powers in your country because they might wreck your equality? I wonder. Because to me, that's exactly what it says. It says to me that, well, maybe we shouldn't have a government that just does that. But guess what? You don't get a choice.
Being pro border wall and anti-immigration? Fuck off, dude. Fuck off. I got a little bit of recession going on, okay?
You discount the role of capital and savings in any type of venture. Like my mom didn't want to be rich. She wanted to be a school teacher and work and do that. And
you can be rich in a school teacher, you know that, right? Like people do their passions. Like I don't know them personally, but there are stories of people who are fairly wealthy, not mega rich, obviously, because the mega rich tend to, well, have various things. But there are stories of people like that are fairly wealthy that they have their wealth still. It's not like they don't have their wealth, but it's like they basically fulfill their passion. They did the stuff they wanted to do. Just sort of thing.
and live in the middle ground, and that's fine.
Bro, that's so fucking dumb. Oh my god, you're such a piece of shit, dude. Your mom literally busted her fucking ass so you could get a good education and have opportunities that were not provided to her. And you're over here being like, my mom didn't want to make money. That's why she became a school teacher.
I run a hedge fund. I do investments and other things. I manage my own money. How much I make annually? Sometimes I lose money.
Hedge fund manager. Second. You know what? Sometimes I think the French Revolution, it's an option, Sometimes we might want to just maybe think about it. If you're a hedge fund manager, guillotine will be very useful for you to, execute it.
Money, but I'd say on average over 10 million.
Dude, it doesn't help that they're such like perennial fucking dorks too. It really blows my mind that motherfuckers look to guys like this in a situation like this and go, wow, that guy is poggers. I love that guy. It really does fucking feel weird,
Yeah.
I don't understand how the fuck you can look at this guy and go, oh man, he has a hedge fund.
I remember I was in school with a fella who liked Bill Gates. And then I remember we had a project to do, and they were doing it on Bill Gates. And I thought, I don't know what to do it on. Should I research Bill Gates too? And I did a bit of research, and I remember I was like, yeah, Bill Gates is not a nice fella. That was before I knew about his sex sex pest past and possibly present, and the fact that he is a horrible man who likes to do kind of war crimes in a way indirectly, like to commit a lot of tax avoidance, doesn't want to pay his fair share. And all this, that's before I knew all that. The first thing I learned about him was that he was a not very nice businessman who liked stealing technology from other businesses and claiming it as his own. Just saying. That was someone who wanted to defend a billionaire. And I'm not sure if they still defend him now. I'm not sure about their intelligence levels when it came down to it, but point I'm making though is that they were a very smart person when it came to academics, and that's inherently the point. It's like just because someone is intelligent when it comes to academics doesn't mean they won't fall for the BS. I guess in a way when it comes to academics, I guess people like to believe because they know that they're academically intelligent that they can achieve it, Unfortunately, sure, you might be able to achieve a few million, but without exploitation, you're not achieving billionaire status.
As a real estate guy, I can make millions of dollars and use the exact same tax loopholes that a Donald Trump would use.
First of all, as I said before, not a great strategy to be like, yeah, Donald Trump could use. the fella who is not at all close to the high points. But also, so it's like, yeah, I mean, I can use the same weapons as, you know, the mafia, but like, it doesn't make it okay. It's like, yes, see, you know, as someone, I can use the same weapon. No, yeah, I don't think it's like that. Also, actually, I couldn't because, you know, I'm not, you know, but, you know, I'm just saying, it's not a great argument. Like, yeah, I could use the same stuff. It's like, so what's the argument?
And pay effectively no tax. And does that make me a bad guy, or did I just study the tax code?
It makes you a bad guy, yeah.
Yeah, it does make you a bad guy. Like, what do you mean study the tax code? Like, I know how to do tax avoidance, right? I'm not gonna do it though, because I'm not a piece of shit. You know, like, you can't argue, but I just study the tax code. Also, by the way, you don't need to study the tax code. You just need to pay your accountant a visit and then pay him a bit of money. Obviously, if you're not rich, you can't do that. You know, I'm sure if I had a bunch of money and I went to an accountant, I could discover all sort of different tax loopholes I might not know about. But I know about a few. Unfortunately, they're all only accessible if you're rich. So even if I wanted to, which I don't, to make it clear for governments, I do not want to do that. You know, I wouldn't be able to.
You think so?
If you do that, yeah.
I'm following the law to a T.
The law is wrong. Yeah.
Why is it wrong? It's the law.
I'm not.
What kind of bullshit is that? How is it wrong? It's the law. You know, slavery was perfectly illegal in America and still technically is if you're a prisoner. It is also technically illegal as long as you're paying someone some sort of a wage, even though you can then charge them that wage back in fees for doing their job, which makes them in debt to you. I don't know how that's not slavery. In fact, you could argue it's kind of worse. You know, there are labor laws which are there, I guess, to stop you from physically beating the person to death, I guess. You know, they're considered a human. You have to obey human rights, although maybe not. You know, only some of them. You know, there's also things there. It's like you can technically starve someone to death, and it's fine. You know, if you pay them such a low wage that they can't eat, you can work someone to death by making them work so long hours and be like, oh, you know, I think so. Effectively, you could argue it is kind of like slavery. You know?
Why is it wrong? Is the law? Immediately hit him with the fucking slavery.
Yeah. It's not just slavery though. You know, it's a lot of things. Like, you know, a lot of things are either recent into the law or like obviously you'd want to be picking stuff that is in the law now because you don't want to be going on the moral route because then you don't know. Just saying, rich people are often, because to become rich you need to do a bit of exploitation. Oftentimes people who do exploitation are also kind of fucked in the head. So sometimes they will be, how would one put this? Not too prone to ethics. You know? Like, not too prone to obeying ethics. You know, a lot of people don't understand ethics. I think I had a conversation before where it was like, someone I think was trying to define ethics or something, and they're like, they couldn't understand ethics includes stuff outside of the law. Like, they couldn't seem to understand that. It's very weird.
Yeah, anytime someone tries to put fucking legality above morality, just hit him with a slavery. Be like, oh yeah, really? That's interesting. And to Bill himself, enslaving humans is the law. Freeing black folk is against the law. Kind of weird that you're pro-slavery. Just immediately, just like a gunslinger. You know what I mean? You go up to someone, you go, town ain't big enough for the both of us. Bam! Slavery. It's legal. Holocaust Germany. Legal to put Jewish people in concentration camps. Illegal to break them out. Can't believe you are in support of that. Also, by the way, slavery is still technically legal in America.
You said it.
Lamau, Holocaust, Germany. Okay, shut up. I already said I'm stupid. Don, can you enlighten me? When you say slavery is still legal in America, what do you mean? Like wage theft and making people live from paycheck to paycheck?
Prisons.
No, dude. No, like literally slavery. The 13th Amendment in the United States Constitution allows you to continue slave labor.
Also, because America has private prisons, does that mean private prisons are allowed to use slave labor?
Within prisons. Slavery is illegal except for as a punishment for crime.
But that's my point. Like, can private companies set up a prison and use that as a slave camp? I'm not exactly sure because I don't want to Google that. But if it is true, then that would make slavery even more concerning than it already is. Because you could argue in the right hands, a government would not necessarily use that. That's of course not an argument for having something in the government. You shouldn't have something in a government's power just because, oh, well, I promise I won't use it for evil means. Yeah, but what about another government? Or what if you're lying to me? Or mistaken? You know, you shouldn't have something, especially if you're not going to use it. Like, why have it? It's like, for defensive, you're not going to, why would you use it? You know? It's like those things where people, the government can subdue democracy. Like, but why is that in a government's power if they're not going to use it? Surely it shouldn't be there. You know? You know what I mean? So, you know, but the point is, though, it's going to be even more ethically concerning, is what I'm trying to say, if it's a private prison than it is if it's a government-run prison. Still, obviously, not at all okay. I'm not trying to defend or anything.
Like, it is weird that people don't know this. It's like so fucking strange.
No, the law is written to encourage investment, is which they want. So he's investing. So like the law is written to encourage certain things. If you
No, the law is written to, it's supposed to be written anyway, to defend its citizens. And then there are carve-outs in order to let people exploit people and, you know, do all sorts of, you know, things like that, you know.
If you disagree with it, you can go lobby and change. But he's not.
Lobby is in bribe. Yeah, I wonder how he's going to do that now.
Not a bad guy.
Just go lobby, forehead.
Like, it's like, yeah, you're poor. Why not lobby yourself into riches? You know, the practice where you use your riches to bribe politicians. I, for one, don't think we should be encouraging bribery. Obviously, lobbying is not just bribery. It is, in addition, things such as, you know, wage motorcades, that sort of thing. You know, I'm not saying like lobbying is supremely just about bribery, but it is in addition. Bribery is part of it, legal bribery. So, effectively, that is a stupid argument because it doesn't make much mathematical sense. It's one of the funny things with rich people who are defending the way the economy is run, is they have a very poor understanding of economics. Like, you know, people who defend it are like, oh, I'm not going to make an economic discussion out of this because I know that is not going to really work. So I'm just going to make a moral one. But this is a terrible argument because it's an economic one. It's like, lobby away. No, that doesn't work mathematically. Like, if you don't have the money, how can you pay someone the money, you know?
Yeah, that's why I'm launching my lobbying initiative. I'm gonna lobby a bourgeois government to implement socialism through the fucking streaming funds that I've cultivated. It's all gonna work out.
Oh my
really
god,
well.
yeah. Just like, yeah, well, Jeff, you know, Mark, Alia, Bill, Warren, the thing is, Hassan has actually put in more money into the lobbying funds. So we're going to have to go with socialism. Yay! They paid us more money, so you know, yeah, yeah. I know, but I know, guys, you put in billions, but like, you know, Sam put in more than you did, so just sort of gonna be the case. Like, we just went to the biggest one. You told us to do that. You said the one with the best deal, you go with them, so we did. Yeah. Anyway, so let's just write up our social thing. You know, I mean,
Well, folks, let's do it. I'll just do some media share. I'll do like a subathon, and then I'll go lobby the government. Lobbying is just another one of the many functions that a bourgeois government engages in. Okay, it's just
it is strange that lobbying is encouraged. It's like, bribe me, basically. It's really weird. Yeah, it's like, why would that be allowed in, like, why would that ever be allowed in any government? It doesn't make much sense. Like, why would you allow that? You know. I mean, lobbying can be used by, you know, it's not necessarily always bad. It can be used by people who are underlooked, you know, by the general population. Generally requires a pretty thick general population, to be honest, or a media controlling situation in which the media don't really pay attention to things. This is like farmer lobbies can sometimes be helpful as long as the farms aren't like major corporations. Like if you've got a farming lobby and they just represent a lot of small farmers, it can be beneficial because it can mean, you know, you draw attention to issues the public may not care about. But that once again requires the public being kind of stupid or the media suppressing discussions, or, you know, kind of a government that doesn't really care about things as long as as long as their voters don't care, which is kind of bad. Like, politicians should care nevertheless, whether, you know, the voters want something or if the voters don't really know about something. Obviously, they should consult voters and be like, should we have this thing or not? You know, but you know. And obviously that's in an indirect democracy or representative democracy. That's not a direct democracy. Indirect democracy, you wouldn't have that. But you know, I'm just saying lobbying isn't necessarily a thing you necessarily would want to outlaw completely, but you would want to restrict it when it comes to big businesses.
Another way to codify and legalize bribery in a system that already is created to churn out exactly these kinds of results that benefit the mega wealthy.
Yeah.
It's idiotic to assume that you could
Also, one of the issues of lobbying is that if you're a small-time farmer but you're represented by a major, like, I guess you might call it like a semi-union, like a union of businesses, you know, it can be difficult because, sure, you might have power together, but like, if you compare that to a couple of megacorps, they're going to crush you. You know, if you want to say, oh, we want to ban greenhouse gases and, you know, chemicals being, you know, sprayed into water because it harms our crops and it like harms animals and it'll lead to a low crop yield. But then the megacorp's like, but yeah, but we want to dump our stuff, so, you know, we're paying more than you are, so they're going to side with us.
could just fucking lobby your way into a better future for the working class, especially when considering how much more money everyone else has.
Yeah.
And they certainly don't want your lobbying efforts to work. Also, I love telling a Disney employee that makes 33 grand a year that he just wants to be poor because he hasn't been able to lobby the government. Dog, Disney is so powerful that they've historically created patent laws specifically around their own intellectual property.
Yeah.
Even outside of that, like they literally change patent laws, okay,
And copyright laws.
regularly to protect Mickey Mouse. Not only that, but also Disneyland was so fucking powerful that in the beginning of COVID, they got Gruesome Gavin, Governor Newsom. They got Group Sex Newsom to fucking literally carve out a specific allowance for Disneyland to not abide by the COVID restrictions in the beginning of the pandemic. Gruesome Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
Man, most famous for...
Well, Ron DeSantis has rolled that back, and now Florida will now no longer allow all this stuff. And why? Because Disney's too damn yo. You know, it's just like, you know, that's how you get, you know, corporate lobbying efforts to fail. You know, make him yoke.
cucking Donald Trump Jr. and also sending me a happy birthday message when I turned 30.
But I mean, I had an epiphany, and I literally woke up one day and I was like, I cannot live the rest of my life like this. And I don't care if people call me lame, square, they're gonna question my blackness. I mean, I don't care. I'm getting
Right.
out.
Well, speaking about black.
What the fuck? I mean, there are a couple of ways you can kind of be semi-ethical about attaining wealth. Like, you know, it's not really ethical, but, you know, it's like, feck the wealthy person. You know, like robbery. They're not always great ways, though, because you can sometimes be tied to, like, if you rob a place, then, like, you're always going to live on the run, so things like that, if you're not careful.
Blackness, do you think there's a correlation between
Well, what I mean, if you're not careful, no, almost definitely you need to live on the run.
people from the African diaspora
Uh-oh.
and people of color and poverty? You don't think there's like a relationship there?
It's true.
There is a relationship. Exploitation is going to lead to that.
That, you know, I belong to a community that makes less than certain other communities. That's true. Significantly less. But you also, you can't look at differences between groups and say it's only because of systems.
Change, please. So yeah, I'm back again and just sort of like repositioning stuff, you know, a bit of a whole new screen, isn't it? Yeah, so yeah, for your information, the reason why is because this entire section of the video was deleted, so I have to re-record this all over again. Anyway, let's dive back in. Okay.
Between groups and say it's only because of systems.
Okay, this is the thing I cheat.
Played a huge deal to it. I'm not discounting that at all.
Okay, I reacted to a John Oliver video before, and it was probably the only John Oliver video I've ever reacted to pretty much just being like, this is pretty much all bad. Almost all. Like, not all of it, obviously, but like, a lot of it was like, you know, I think everyone was like, oh, like, the reason for inflation, I believe, was, oh, it's not just corporate greed. And like, yeah, it's not just corporate greed in the same sense that the war was not only down to, you know, the Austro-Hungarians declaring war. Yeah, other factors played it, in fact, but you can't just like, oh yeah, what was intentional though? You know? What's intentional? The systems, in this case, are intentional.
All like, it's a real big deal, and we're working to change that.
Oh, no.
Okay. I don't know why it's not.
Also, I mean, statistically, like, people from my old neighborhood and people.
Okay. What is he saying exactly?
People, you know, around this in these communities, they spend about 50% more on shoes than people who are not in the.
Okay, what do you?
Oh, come.
Yeah, come on. Like, first of all, let's break this down. First of all, you cannot look at, you know, okay, so how much does the average person spend on shoes? Now, what happens if your area has a higher amount of walking required? So now shoes break down a lot quicker. That means you need to buy more shoes on average because you walk more, and maybe the areas you walk on are less good for you. Now, there's also possibly requirements. For example, when I went to school, I had a pair of shoes, but I was told, no, you can't wear those shoes. You have to wear these specific types of shoes. So what did I have to do? I had to go out and I had to buy another pair of shoes. I didn't want to, but guess what that did? That increased the cost of my shoes up by about 300%, you know? That would be 300% more on shoes if that was me. And of course, at the end of the day, was I wanting to do that? Well, no. But what happens if I actually do want a pair of shoes? That's different. Oh, well then, am I supposed to just not do that? You know? It's this kind of idea of like, okay, also, unless the shoes are like covered in diamonds and they're like literal gold, I don't really see how that would be like, yeah, they spend 50% more. Not even double. Just 50% more. I mean, 50% more on expensive things might be a thing. Like a 50% more on a house. Wow. Like, and shoes. oh, okay. That would just be like instantly hurt down by like bigger feet on average. You know, there are a lot of things when you look at the statistics where it's like, yeah, that's a correlation, you know? So yeah, I mean, also, even if that was not the case, the attitude like, oh yeah, and you know, I mean, the systems are in place to discriminate against you, but like, you know, shoes. So you're gonna just like ignore the like that the hundreds of years of like enslavement and persecution. You're gonna ignore that, and your attitude is gonna be shoes. Yeah. Yeah. Like.
Come on, dude. Come the fuck even.
Okay. I don't know why it's not loading.
I think she's gonna be like, no. Oh, come on,
Oh, why isn't this loading properly now?
dude. Straight up Candace Owens shit. Yeah, black people are poor because they buy expensive shoes. Yeah. Look how he fucking hand waved away. Literally 2
Sorry, it's just not loading properly. Ugh.
2 centuries worth of intergenerational poverty, like slavery,
Yeah.
rape, mass
Yeah.
exploitation
Yeah, that's it.
in the form of fucking poverty,
Yeah.
systemic discrimination in the form of like Jim Crow laws and continued subjugation of black people.
Yeah.
And the contemporary effects of that. He was like, yeah, you know, that was a thing, but like also black people do be buying shoes. That's fucking insane.
Wow, yeah.
You can't just literally on the one hand be like, well, all that stuff happened, but also black people like to buy expensive shoes. First of all, people should be able to buy whatever the fuck they want. But the idea
to
that
an
like,
extent,
systemic racism can be fucked
to an
and
extent,
hand waved away, and then you turn around and hyper.
Like, you don't want to be just like, you can buy whatever you want at all. No, I mean, there's an extent where you're like, no, yeah, I gotta stop there. But yeah, shoes, yeah, of course.
Focus on the weird stereotype that like black people like fucking fancy shit, and that somehow contributes to generational poverty that they're subjected to more than like the slavery stuff is yet another byproduct of, unfortunately, growing up in a white supremacist education system.
Well, not only that, Todd, but I think I looked up a recent statistic that said that Asian households, their children tend to study 13 to 15 hours a week, where in a black household.
Okay, let's break this down, because that's a very stupid statement. Okay, so let's see. Now, one of the interesting things about the education system is that it really does depend where you go to. For example, if you go to a school that provides very little amounts of homework, then or none, then obviously you have more time to study. Now, I personally went to a school that provided a lot of homework that might take you 4 hours to get through. Now, at the end of the day, then you have a meal, and of course, you know, we want to make sure our minds are healthy, so we'll have 8 hours of sleep. Now, you generally want to get up at around 7 o'clock, so that'll be 11, we'll say 10:30, and now we'll take 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 o'clock, and 5 o'clock there, so say 5:30. Okay, so you have to travel back to your home. Okay, that's gonna be okay. So that's around an hour, to an hour and a half of study you can get done. Well, yeah, about a half an hour to an hour an hour and a half of study. That's per day. So, yeah, as far as I can see, there's not really a way to get, you know, 13 hours of study on there, because there isn't really. Also, you know, like that. First of all, also, can I just address this? Like, you know, that doesn't make much sense anyway. By the way, also tests do not reflect well for study. Sorry to break it to you, anyone out there who is studying and thinks that that's enough. That's not. You need memory. People will always like, oh, study. You need memory. You need to remember what you study. It does not matter if you can remember it in the moment. It doesn't matter if you test yourself. It's about the test that occurs there. And at the end of the day, you know, the mind with anxiety, with the problems of memory, with all these things, you can know something, go into an exam, and entirely fail your test. You know? So, just saying.
It's like 3 hours.
What the fuck? Okay, first of all, what? Dude, what is happening, dude? What the fuck is going on? Okay, first of all. Okay. First of all, comparing black people to an all-encompassing Asian stereotype of the model minority is incredibly damaging for multiple different reasons. First of all, there are, and this might come as a shock to you, when we talk about black people in America, for the most part, we're talking about African descendants of slaves. When we talk about Asian people, though, we are talking about people from incredibly different geopolitical situations that are coming in as either refugee status and are super fucking poor, or we're talking about incredibly wealthy people that are coming from very wealthy backgrounds that are able to immigrate here by purchasing land or by, you know, starting a business or anything like that.
Which is insane that you're able to do that, by the way. Just like, I mean, I'm for open borders, but like, you know.
So that's like idiotic to compare black people in America to, you know, the entire Asian population in America. You look at like the Vietnamese population here, and the education level and the results of you know, Vietnamese Americans is drastically different than, you know, Chinese Americans, for example.
My name is Hanifa. I'm an author, and I'm currently homeless, so I don't make any money right now. I grew up Muslim my entire life, and in Islam, it is permissible to marry your cousin. So my family enforced sexual acts in between cousins. It led to me having to flee my home.
This video is a collection, a consortium of all of the fucking worst, all of the worst fucking things I've seen so far. It just, like, every time I'm thinking that the video can't get worse, they straight up add a different layer on top of it to make it even worse than it was before. We're like, wait a minute, what the fuck? And by the way, I think she's referencing Nation of Islam and not like Islam.
Yeah.
That's my suspicion. It's gonna get worse. Are you serious?
Oh god.
$15 an hour is not enough for.
Okay, if you think that $15 an hour is enough, you are, and I know this might come as a shock, a fucking moron and an idiot. You see, here's the thing. I understand conservatism. Now, some people say, oh, you know, some people are not just selfish or stupid. And at the end of the day, I kind of disagree with that. Because to be a conservative, and I mean I really mean this, you kind of do have to be either selfish or stupid. You kind of just do. Because conservatism is based off of fucking other people over. So, either it helps you, you're not the person being fucked over. In that case, you're selfish. Or you are a person being fucked over, but you help them fuck you over, then you're stupid. You know? That's kind of the psychology behind it. So basically, the thing is, there's some things with conservatism. It's like, okay, so yeah, you know, if you said $15 an hour is what we should have, and someone was like, okay, I agree with that, and you say, okay, why should we have that? Because it helps me. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, you're honest. Or maybe you're lying. You know, you're lying. If you're lying, that doesn't necessarily mean you're stupid. You know, you can be lying, but like, this is a question about moral and ethicalness. It's not a question of does it help you. It's a question of is it enough? And the answer is it's not, you know? It's not should we have this, should we not, should we increase this, should we not. It's literally is it enough? And the answer is no.
Minimum wage.
To make clear, I'm agreeing with the statement that it's not enough.
I did have a question for you two. You both mentioned that you suffer from addiction, and that as soon as you get a paycheck, it's gone, whether it's gambling or weed or shopping.
Todd's about to be like,
Yeah, God almighty. I mean, like, you know, it's funny. You know when cryptocurrency exploded, and you were just like, I think I tried to even explain this to people. Like, you do realize if you try to, whatever.
like, that's why you shouldn't get paid, because that means you won't have enough money to fucking, you know, buy weed. He's like, this is why we didn't. I'm just kidding. He walked up for $15 minimum wage, so I guess he's like, all right. Technically, he is a landlord though, so maybe he's like, you know, $15 minimum wage is good. That means I can raise my prices. Wait.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. That's a good. Actually, yeah, because when it comes down to it, like if you ask someone, okay, well, do you support wage increase? Well, they're like, well, yeah, because it means I can charge a little more, you know, and that's what leads to inflation, of course. People being like, oh, you got more money? Okay, I want more. I want more rent then, you know. If people get more money, more rent for me, and inherently it's a benefit of them because if people get more money, you can charge more rent, but of course. It also means that you know, it doesn't really affect them because you know they're not involved in it, and also if the minimum wage increases and you're a landlord who also has a job outside of it, you're not unemployed, you know, living off the wages of your tenants. If you also have a job, it means that you can then demand also a higher wage increase for you, even if you're not earning minimum wage. Like if you're earning $100,000 a year. You can still say, well, you know, the minimum wage went up to 25, so I want more money. I want 200 grand. It's like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? So.
Wait. Hold on. I don't see a couple business owners in that group. Old man and the Asian lady are surprisingly not there. If I recall, didn't she literally say, I pay my workers enough earlier?
Yeah.
More than enough? I'm sure she's not up here.
Not great.
She thinks like it needs to be even more than $15. $15 is not enough for minimum wage. She probably misunderstood.
A lot of jobs will pay minimum wage, but they will expect maximum effort. And I'm like, if you're gonna pay me minimum wage, I'm putting in the bare minimum effort.
True.
I've always
True,
looked
makes
at it
sense.
the opposite way. Like if I go
Okay,
into
they're
a
fucking
company
agent.
and they're paying me minimum wage, I do everything that I can to get promoted.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a stupid thing. Okay, so let's break it down. Imagine you're an employer and there's a bunch of people and then they are all, you know, working away and one of them is really slaving away. You're going to go, wow, I do not have to give them any bonuses or anything. You know, maybe there's a bit of financial trouble and you hear about it and you're like, wow, they really need more money and they just keep working. Wow. I mean, they don't even ask for more money or... Wow. Oh my God. These people are... You're going to fleece that person for as much as you can get. You're going to keep them low as possible. You might give them a promotion, but you won't give them a raise. You might give them more power, but you won't give them more money. You know? You'll ensure you can get the most out of them as possible. The only time when you're increasing that money is when the government say you gotta increase that money because the minimum wage went up. That's the only time. Because inherently, you're gonna keep squeezing that person. You know? Because you can put it in the work. Well, why would you give someone a raise? A raise is to encourage people to work more. You know, to work better, to work longer hours, to do this. You know, if you work a little bit more, you know, if you work a little bit more. You know, I can get you a little raise. This is how, you know, bosses commit sexual assault on their employees because they force them into a position like, well, yeah, you know, all you need to do is work a little bit more, work with me, you know, and then I can see a way to promoting you, and with that promotion comes a nice big wage increase. It's like, yeah, that's what you're doing. You're trying to force them into that area. So if you keep working anyway, if you keep doing what the boss wants anyway, why are they going to pay you more? There's no encouragement there because it's just like, well, I don't have to pay you more. You keep working as much as you can anyway. You know, you're going to probably stay there as long as they can, you know, as long as they can. I mean, maybe they'll promote you, but you won't get, they might promote you, but they're not going to give you a massive wage increase, you know? So that's the thing. If you work the minimum wage, is more like, minimum amount, rather, you're going to be like, okay, well, I mean, yeah, I might be like, yeah, I mean, here's a bit more money. You work harder. Yeah, okay, you want some more money? You know, that kind of thing. Anyway, that's just breaking down this fella's kind of stupid remarks, because very stupid man. Anyway,
bro, that's how it works. I swear, definitely, dude. Like, ironically, here, you want to know something? That's why this dude got lucky. You want to know why? Because what the other guy, what Starchild over here is talking about is literally smarter. He's right. If I'm getting paid minimum wage, I'm going to do the least amount of work fucking possible. You're saying I should get paid the federally least amount of money that you can pay me. So,
like,
I'm
you're breaking the law if you pay less.
Going to give the least amount of effort. That is unironically smart. That's fucking smart. That other guy is an idiot. Oh, if I just do more work for fucking no money, maybe my bosses will appreciate me and decide to give me more money. It's like, no, minimum wage, minimum effort. He's right. So if there was truly a meritocracy, this motherfucker would be rich while this motherfucker would be poor because he is operating on his class interest. Your boss wants to pay you the least amount that he physically can while getting the most amount of work out of you. The worker, on the other hand, wants to work the least amount of hours for the most amount of pay.
I've always considered, why don't bosses just like double their worker base but slash the hours? Like, obviously it won't work for all industries, because some industries you don't necessarily, like, hours will not necessarily come into it. Like, a job might take an extra hour. You know, so you got like salaried work where, you know, time is, you know, employers really don't really like paying in time because it could take a long time to get jobs done. So it's just like, no, we'll just pay this amount of money. You just work on that and ensure it's up to certain quality level, you know. But obviously some jobs, I don't, why don't they just like slash the hours in two and then, you know, get someone else in, you know. I think that would be really good for the economy. Like, that would make sense. It would really be beneficial for businesses because then they could be like the governments. Yeah, we created 20,000 new jobs by slashing 20,000 jobs in two. Actually,
possible. He's operating on a class conscious basis. He understands the position that he's in. He's right. This guy, on the other hand, if he was ever a worker, which I'm sure he was, he's literally operating against his class interest.
Yeah, but
when you grow up the way I did with no money and your mom is struggling and crying herself to sleep every night because you can't pay the bills, that takes a toll on you.
The music is a bit, you know.
As a kid and seeing that struggle. I got my first job when I was 12 years old.
Okay, well, that's against the law.
Literally shoveling horse poop for $3 an hour.
Bro, homie's like,
yeah, that's just child labor. Also, $3 an hour? That seems like less than minimum wage. So, you might want to report that employer to the police.
Like, I did child labor and it was sick. I shoveled the most horse poop as literally a child laborer. Okay, at the age of 12, I was doing child labor and it was fucking sick. So maybe you guys should also do child labor. It's fucking dope. What happened, bro? Did you eat some of the poop? This is what is like the outcome? Like, what kind of fucking brain problems do you have, dude? Holy shit. I mean, this is pure survivor bias, 100%. Yes, chatter, you are correct. My man literally is admitting that shit was fucked, but not recognizing how fucked shit was, actually. And I mean literally. I mean shit literally and figuratively in this situation.
For me, my mindset
I'm not sure if it was literally fucked. That would be not shoveling, you know. Get back to work, you know. What are you doing? You know, but
working minimum wage is always temporary.
Oh, sick mindset.
That's not true. You idiot. I know. See, the thing is that's bullshit. So yeah. That's not really an opinion. That's just wrong. So what can I say to that? It's just incorrect though. It's factually incorrect. So no. This isn't the thing of opinion. It's like minimum wage is temporary. Yes, in the sense that you in the sense life is temporary, you know? As in eventually you won't be paid minimum wage. When you die, that is. When you cease to be paid at all. That's when you will no longer be paid minimum wage. Yay!
Dude, what about for all the people that it's not? First of all, that's a fucking meme, okay? Like, we're not in 1965 anymore, Ginny, okay? Black people and white people in most places can drink from the same water fountain, and you don't have, like, a starter job as a minimum wage job. There are hella fucking people, I think 60% of the people that get paid minimum wage are actually full-blown adults that rely on that as their fucking main source of income. Holy shit. What the fuck? I hate this fucking meme. I hate this meta. It is totally fucking outdated. People still act like you can buy a house for like, you know, $1,000 or whatever the fuck. Oh my God.
Many years ago, you could go live off the land. You didn't have to work for somebody in order to survive.
Okay.
All the land is taken. It's in federal land. You can't go fishing in these.
Well, I kind of made this point, Bill, though. Like, you're kind of saying my point. My point is, in essence, when it comes down to capitalism, why exactly do we have a system in which all the land is like, okay, so you can build a house. You know, you can take those trees, you can plant some more trees in their place, and you can use the logs from those trees to build yourself a house on this land that's free, that isn't being used. But you're not allowed to do that because those trees aren't owned by you. And that land that's free, that's not owned by you either. So no, you can't do that. So at the end of the day, Bill, what are you saying? Like, you're just sort of you're just saying my point, not proving it. Saying my point, you know? That's just you know. Like,
these federal streams, you can't do that. So that's not possible at scale. In order to survive,
at scale,
you must work for someone else. That forces wages down, right? People can't just go, F you, I'm not going to work, I'm going to chill and work on my numbers.
Well, technically, you can say no, and then just start, you know, just cut the throat of your employer and just steal all the money that there is in the area. You can do that. That is an option. Not a good idea because you'll get arrested by the police, but you know.
Novel or do whatever.
But like, why not? I mean, seriously. At least he's honest. At least the fucking mega wealthy poker guy who's best friends with Dan Bilzerian is honest. Which is like, someone still has to clean the shit. Someone has to clean the toilets. And he's right about that. It's brutally honest, but he's right about that. And that is the main difference between like people who admit that capitalism is a brutal system and people who refuse to recognize that. Okay? The idea that someone has to keep the economy going and that someone is going to be you because you were born into a shittier zip code than others.
Or in some cases, just like, nah, you just weren't willing to oppress other people. You know, we weren't willing to be a dickhead. So, you're not wanting to be a dickhead? Well, you get fucked up in that.
Unfortunate reality under capitalism and the way that the two classes consistently fight against one another.
Yeah.
1/3 of minimum wage workers are over 30. 88% are older than 20 years old.
Yeah.
The average age of the minimum wage worker is 35 years old. 88% are not teenagers. They're older than the 20 years of age.
Yeah.
36% are older than 40, and 56% are women. And 28% of minimum wage workers have children. 55% of minimum wage workers work full time. And on average, they earn half of their family's total income. This idea, this false notion that minimum wage is actually simply just, regular shit that you do when you're a fucking teenager, when you work at the soda pop factory. When dad comes home from the racism factory after a long day and beats mom.
Jesus Christ.
Come home from the soda pop machine where you're a soda jerk working for 3 cents an hour, minimum wage. Like, that's not how that shit works anymore, okay? Dad comes home from the raisin factory. You're a soda jerk. You're, you know, putting enough money behind to pay for college education that also costs $10 a semester. So you can go in and get a job with a firm handshake.
We don't pay people based on what they need. And you were kind of pointing to this. I give the minimum effort if you pay me minimum wage. But there's certain jobs that are not worth $15 an hour.
Then why are they jobs? If they're not worth that much, then why are you doing them in general? You know? Like, the attitude should be, why wouldn't you do it yourself? You know? Other people working should be convenience. Or, you know, you're not quite able to do that to the standard. Or you're not quite able to do that, you know? It shouldn't be, oh no, this isn't worth it. Like,
frankly, not worth it.
Why? Literally.
That look is not a good freeze for him. But, you know, yeah. Why is the job then?
Why not? Right now, in this day and age, with inflation where it's at, there is not a single fucking job that you could do where you are not generating $15 fucking dollars, or more, actually, more than $15, in the hour that you are working.
I want you to watch TV for an hour in your house and tell me how many commercials come up, because I'm doing a survey. I'm going to pay you $7 an hour. You think I should have to pay you $15 an hour for that?
No, I think you just shouldn't do your fucking survey then. If you can't pay 15, then why are you doing the survey? If it's only worth 7, just use an automated computer. Or just do it yourself. You know? If the job isn't worth 15, do it yourself and hire somebody else to do whatever job you were doing.
Wait, that's so fucking dumb. Here's the difference between me and that guy. I believe that if you're fucking counting ads and the amount of money that the surveying company makes as a consequence of that, or the amount of value that you're generating for the company is far greater than the fucking $7 an hour, then pay him more. That's how this works. Even then it doesn't fucking matter, because what you're describing is like literally not a fucking full-time a job that you can live off of, but it should be if that is a job. You just like made up a fucking situation. And ultimately, that ad counter still has to drive over to the fucking place of work. They still have to sit there for many hours.
Oh,
They're not
it was at home, but yeah.
Any money during that or doing other shit. They still have to fucking eat so they can count your ads. They still have to fucking put a roof over their table or put a roof over their house.
More money, like more social responsibility.
Fuck off. Fuck off.
Like going back to,
What does that mean?
like, if you're a billionaire, then you have social responsibility to take care of.
Yeah, you got social responsibility. Stop being such a fucking rich like, if you're a billionaire, don't have that money. You know? Okay? Don't have that money. What you do is build houses. You know? Build a bunch of houses and give them to people in need for free. You know?
What the fuck? Oh man, poor billionaires, dude. They got such a bad fucking, their situation is so bad. Yeah, that's why you always see billionaires fucking willingly parting ways with their money, you psycho. That's bullshit. Here's the evidence, okay? Being rich is fucking dope, especially in America. It's a fucking playground. If you're poor in America, you're fucked. You're literally living, in certain circumstances, you're living in developing nation conditions, okay? And sometimes even worse than that, because at least some developing nations will stretch out their fucking dollar and offer you some services. America does not. Guess what?
Or you live in solidarity. You know. America is more like, oh no, there's food available. Just not for you, because you've got no money. Give us some money and then you'll have some food. You have no money. Oh, guess you're gonna starve then. Bye-bye. You know, like, what kind of system is that?
I don't see any fucking billionaires being like, yeah, I want to live a life of fucking quiet solitude as like a middle class person. So I'm just gonna fucking straight up I'm gonna straight up fucking sell all of my.
Some of them do. It's just that they just like seeing the counter go up. The only problem is people always miss this. People who are even on the left, which is that they always seem to miss if the billionaire's income is going up and the billionaire's wealth is going up, everybody else's wealth is going down. We don't have well, we do have a money printing option, but as in billionaires' wealth, when it goes more than how much money is being printed, that's a net loss to the rest of us. So every single time that billionaire, gets an extra 10 billion, 20 billion, whatever the case may be, even an extra billion, all these things, that means that's less money for you to get, So it's not only, it's this thing like, well, they have power and all these things with the money. It's the fact that even just having that money in their possession as a billionaire means that inherently, less money for you, less services for you, less goods for you. You can't get that mortgage. You can't get that house. You can't do that. And you know why? Because that house is owned by a billionaire. Possibly directly, possibly through a company. Doesn't matter. You can't buy that product because the price is up. Why? Because it's owned by a company. It's owned by the billionaire. The more they own, the less you do. It's like an abacus. People always seem to miss this. It's not like an abacus. It's very simple. Money's made of concepts, so we have to understand here that it's a very simple understanding thing to do, okay? So, the more they have, the less you do. Obviously, you can gain some money from other people in the stream of not billionaires, not millionaires. Yeah, That person there can take a bunch of money from that person there. That person could fall into massive debt, and the debt money can go partially into this person's hands. Yes. But end of the day, if you lose money and it keeps going in to this area, then yes, you are losing. Because even if you take from your like-minded humans and the similarities of other humans, the rich people are sacking away from the coffers.
My stake and my ownership in all the companies that I own and then fucking give it away. That doesn't happen. You want to know why? Because being rich is fucking dope. It's freedom. Okay, you get freedom from that. It's the most freedom you can get. That's the reality. Fucking bullshit. And I say this as someone who had the fucking penny pinch. I say this as someone who had to fucking go get manager special chicken at Ralph's so I could still get a decent amount of protein, because a lot of those like expiration dates are bullshit regardless. I say this as someone who was like, I can't go out because I don't fucking, I'm not gonna be able to drink, or I'm not gonna be able to fucking Uber. I don't know how much money I have left in the end of the month. Doing all of that weighs on you. Okay, that's a fucking bag that you're wearing.
It's more than weighing on you. It's, oh god, yeah. It gets you, yeah. But yeah,
on top of everything else,
life.
Every single fucking day when you are not, when you're not well off, you never have to think about that. The first moment where I felt like, holy shit, I'm actually in like a really good financial situation was when I recognized like I don't even have to ever have that fucking anxiety when I call an Uber. Never. Like that I don't have to look at how much the Uber is going to cost and whether or not I'm going to have enough money that I budgeted out in the end of the month.
Oh god, yeah, that's fucking depressing me now. Yeah.
Isn't to say that like, I mean, I was like struggling. There were people that struggled way worse than me and still do to this day. Do not misunderstand my point. But ultimately, it's great. It's a wonderful thing. It's very
great for you.
Broke, and
great
when
for
you have money, especially up to a certain degree, especially up to a certain level, you get so much fucking freedom all of a sudden. That burden off of your shoulders that you live with every single day is taken off your shoulders. It's lifted. You no longer have that thing weighing on you all the goddamn time. Also, that's precisely the reason why you never see rich people be like, yeah, I fucking want to be broke. This is the worst.
Do you know, one of the things I never learned in economics was how much money the average person should have compared to the average money the average person does have. The average person should be worth roughly 160 to 100, like to around 200 grand. Think about that. Everyone in this world should own their own home. Everyone. Doesn't matter if you're in the, poorest countries in the world or the richest. The thing is, you also deserve no more than 200 at the end of the day. Now, I think certain leeways, I think at certain times, certain people who commit horrible actions should be stripped of any wealth they have, personally speaking, So obviously that means more in the pot. So as a whole, maybe you've got a good bit more, and there's all sort of things where maybe people want to not have that much. They just want to be comfortable. They only want, let's say, 50 grand, instead. So of course, as a whole, maybe a little bit more, But as a whole, at the end of the day, I think there should be a cap at a certain point where you're just like, at that point, you're kind of stealing. As I said before, I wrote a story once where this government decided if you've got over 25, if you have 25 million, you stop there. You can't earn any more money. You can't buy any more money. You buy an asset with that. The asset goes up in value. They take the asset off you. You can't go over 25. So you go over 25, they'll ensure they'll take stuff from you until you return down to below that. Now that would be an extreme. Don't necessarily think that's a good idea, but just saying. At the end of the day, your fair share is an important thing. Anyway, thank you for watching.
First Jubilee video I've ever fucking watched.
I do to say, at the end of the day, let's take a look and let's like the video, subscribe. This is from a while back, by the way, this video. So, yeah, links should be in the description to all those Hasan's channel. And yeah, thank you for watching. Hopefully you'll come back next time and all those little YouTube things. See you next time, I guess. And thank you for watching. And hopefully I'll see you next time.